Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson, World Alternative Media here, and there have been a lot of recent attempts to muzzle free speech in Canada, the most recent of which has been happening in the last couple days. We're going to go into the latest news regarding the Heritage Minister's claim that he wants a license on medias, and then he backtracked. There's a lot to this story, but I want to rewind first to 2018, 2019, when the Canadian government announced that they would be doing a $600 million media bailout and essentially deciding which medias would get this bailout. And it's once again another example of government monopolizing the so-called medias or propagandist arms of their own government, deciding which ones prevail and which ones don't, despite the popular perception of the people being, we don't like the mainstream media anymore, we're going to independent media, and we're going to get into that more in a moment. But that was also followed last year by Canada's digital charter, which essentially was an attempt by the government to say that they were combating censorship by censoring people. It was like something out of Orwell. It was doublespeak. It was crazy. They basically laid down a charter that gave 10 principal points, and one of them being free from hate and violent extremism, which was number 9, and strong enforcement and real accountability. It was their attack on so-called fake news, but they got to decide what fake news was, and they basically laid down this charter saying that if you're hateful, you cannot continue doing what you're doing, which was interesting because when the government, which steals everyone's money to pay off the interest on the debt, blows up children overseas and just creates vast, I guess you could call it monopolies in order to push people into the gutter, printing massive amounts of money to create inflation, causing more homelessness, to cause more people to be dependent, and then beg for more help from the state and suffer. The carbon tax is a good example of that as well. When that government decides what's hateful, i.e., that's bad, I don't like those laws, that's hateful, according to the Canadian government, then we are in serious trouble, and we are facing down the barrel of the censorship gun, which is being cocked and loaded as we speak. And it's been getting really bad, and I will go into more on how bad it's getting shortly, but this has been going on for a long time. I mean, it was only in 2017 when I confronted Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, and called him a scumbag, the whole context of which was that I went to a press conference. They told me I could read one of 5 questions to Justin Trudeau, who would deliver a scripted answer. And, you know, CBC, the mainstream medias, state-run medias, all that kind of stuff, all of them agreed to that. I said no. And I stood at the side and I asked him, how do you justify people having to choose between heating their homes and feeding their families in the winter due to your carbon tax? To which Justin Trudeau smiled, smirked, and treated me like, you know what? And I got choked, and I got hit, and I got pulled out of the room, so I called him a scumbag. That was a whole scenario. But instead, obviously, the mainstream media said, camcorder-wielding man goes into press conference and swears in front of children. No children anywhere around me. You know, it's the usual shenanigans of the media. I remember years ago doing an event on child and family services where I was bullhorning to a crowd of people, and the Autism March just happened to walk by, and we waved and smiled. And on the news, mainstream media, you know, activists attack Autism March, and they showed my picture. I mean, these are the scumbags that we're dealing with. Just absolutely insane. That's just one of 2 of many stories I have regarding my problems with the mainstream media. But anyway, I want to go into the most recent story regarding Heritage Minister Guilbeault's comments on CTV recently, where he said, as you can see this Maxime Bernier tweet here, it says, after the $600 million media bailout carrot, now comes the stick. First, you'll need a government license. Then you must follow government norms and regulations for content, or else you lose the license. Leftist tolerance and diversity in action. And to explain this story, I'm going to go to this post-millennial article that says, Heritage Minister retreats from licensing all news media. And as the article goes into, Liberal Heritage Minister Stephen Guilbeault has made an announcement walking back previous comments regarding the licensing and regulation of Canadian media. In an interview with CTV aired yesterday, Guilbeault said if you're a distributor of content in Canada, and obviously if you're a very small media organization, the requirement probably wouldn't be the same if you're Facebook or Google. There would have to be some proportionality embedded into this. And I quote, "We would ask that they have a license." Yes, Guilbeault continued. As the article continues here, it says Guilbeault walked back the comments on Monday, stating that the government had no intention to impose licensing requirements on news organizations, nor will the government regulate news content. And I quote, "Our focus will be and always has been that Canadians have diversity to high-quality news sources," said Guilbeault to reporters in Ottawa. And I guess he decides what those news sources are. What's high quality? What's high quality according to the government? One's medias that are nice to the government? It's crazy. Anyway, as it continues here, it says, "This announcement comes after deep criticism of a previous announcement by the Liberal government where they said they would force news organizations to apply for a license." Guilbeault's announcement faced intense scrutiny from across the political spectrum, with some commentators suggesting that it would be a dangerous attack on the freedom of the press. "All you needed to say was, 'No, Minister, no, a free democracy does not require the press to obtain government license. Licensing for media companies in Canada would likely be proportionate,' Heritage Minister," and it shows the link there, Andrew Coyne on Twitter. I think it would actually be great for democracy, because democracy is just two wolves and a sheep deciding what to have for dinner, essentially 51% ruling the 49%, and then the winner, quote unquote, of the collective horde of slaves and people with Stockholm Syndrome gets to decide, the people that lost, what they get to see or what they don't get to see, and what benefits them most. I don't see how it goes against democracy. I see it going against freedom, individual freedom, free expression, free speech, free press. How do you call something a free press if it's not free? Continuing on, it says, Guilbeault also told CTV's Solomon that the government was taking their time deliberating what 97 recommendations to adopt and hasn't committed to anything yet. And I quote, "What the reports say on that topic is regarding those who produce cultural content, and it's around the issue of discoverability, which doesn't apply to news media outlets," said Guilbeault in a press conference when he was asked to clarify his comments from Sunday, suggesting all news media would also need to be licensed. I think I was pretty clear. And when I've talked about the report, I've always talked about how it's from an independent panel, and these are recommendations, and that we were looking at which recommendations we might put forward as an upcoming bill, he continued. The list of 97 proposals also includes having the CBC, notoriously known for not crediting other journalists' work and for pushing Trudeau government propaganda, monitor and police other news outlets' content. Guys, this is just more evidence of the attempt to whittle away free speech in Canada and elsewhere too. It's happening all over the place, but Canada is a shining beacon of slavery when it comes to this kind of thing. And you could see another article from CTV News here. Heritage Minister backtracks, says no intention to impose licensing requirements on news organizations. Well, they had to backtrack pretty quick because it looked pretty bad. I don't think they're ready for full Hitlerian, censorship. They're only ready for half Hitlerian censorship, or maybe a little bit of Stalin here and there. I mean, what's going on in Canada as far as free speech goes is insane. And everybody should be seriously concerned, not just in Canada, but elsewhere as well. Places like California and New York are looking at many very similar things that Canada has gone through in the past. The hate speech laws and regulations and legislation just goes over the top. It's completely subjective, and you cannot put your finger on what is actually hateful or not, because it's actually just a state deciding that for you. And again, being very subjective. And we saw recently Ezra Levant interrogated over his new book on Justin Trudeau. Guys, we are facing a serious risk to not just the future of our free speech, but our futures, our very futures, when they can crack down on a person's ability to criticize, critique, speak, use vocal cords, vibrational sounds out of their throat hole. When that comes to the point, when it gets to the point when the state decides what one can or cannot say and how people can express themselves, yet like gives huge government grants to drag queen reading and stuff for children, and transitioning children. I mean, we are living in, I don't even know what to call it anymore. It's more than Orwell. It's worse than Orwell. This is like 2084 rather than 1984. This is like a complete dystopian future we're living in. And honestly, they're all, in a lot of ways, it's more extreme than a lot of the 1970s, 80s dystopian books and movies. So I think we should be very, very, very careful about how we go forward in this. And we should be standing up in every way possible, not asking the government to do things for us, but demanding they stop cracking down on basic forms of free speech and free expression. Look, I got into independent media in the first place because of stuff like this, because of the state-run CBC and CTV and Global News in Canada, because of CNN and Fox News in the United States, because of these monolithic beasts that are propped up by the state to propagandize the public. You start with public school indoctrination camps, you're brainwashed, you're told to be weak and dependent and stupid. They slowly whittle you down over the years, over the grades, brainwash you and make you very dependent. And then they follow that up with you getting into debt, going into college. Then they come in and say, maybe the government can help and fix this problem by, stealing more people's money and flooding it into the industry. And then once you're finished with that, they beam mainstream media down your throat. And repeat after me, Simon Says, be a good slave and say whatever the CBC News tells you to say. And, people were starting to shake that loose. People have been moving away from the mainstream media in droves. We've never seen so many people move away from that. I mean, people decentralized, essentially, quote unquote, more so anyway, from mainstream media to things like YouTube. And now look what's happening on YouTube. They're censoring speech as well and trying to ensure that they are able to control the narrative. They are demonetizing people, shadow banning people. Susan Wojcicki, the CEO of YouTube, recently came in and she said she was proud to have to announce that she cut down viewership on quote unquote controversial content by 70%. They've bankrupted us here at Wham. I've been forced. I'm going to have to sell everything I own and move to the other side of the world so I can keep making videos. And so be it, because I don't negotiate with terrorists. The problem is here that people are too complacent with when all this is happening. People watched as, actual far right or far left extremist hate mongers that hate people for the color of their skin or whatever it might be were kicked off of YouTube and Facebook, and they said, that's all right. And I said at the time, if all these social medias can all shut these same people down all at the same time, then imagine what they're able to do later on. It'll be an incremental frog boil to complete collectivism and slavery and control of the narrative. What happens next? Well, YouTube becomes more of the mainstream media that people left and went to YouTube in the first place to escape. And what happens? Alex Jones gets kicked off. People like Sam Tripoli are kicked off. I mean, it just keeps growing. The anti-media, all these different, major media outlets that are getting less and less and less extreme, quote unquote, whatever you call extreme these days, an alternative view. All those guys are getting smacked left, right, and center, and it's getting to the point they're attacking, LGBTQ, whatever, pronoun, whatever, at the same time as they're attacking gun channels. They're going after everyone at this point. It's not just left and right. They're going after gamers. They're going after children's content. They're going after everyone. Crypto content, you name it. They're going after the future of free information. And I think it's about time I ask all of you, what are you going to do about it? It doesn't have to do with me. It has to do with the narrative, the message, the diversity of information. The Canadian government says they're all about diversity. So does YouTube. But where is this diversity of thought, of ideas, of opinions? They have control over the narrative. They're shadow banning people. They have controlled our algorithm. We'll get 500 views in the first 5 minutes of a video. And then 2 hours later, we'll have had only another 700 views on top of that. That's control of the algorithm. They're utilizing the algorithm. I don't even care if they completely 100% demonetize me and didn't let me make even a cent. I'm barely making a cent today. I don't care if that happened. I'm more annoyed that I can't reach people with information. That is the number one thing. That's why I ask people to help support independent media, help support free spread of information. And obviously that includes going to things like float.app, flote.app, which they're the future of social media. I don't think they're going to be listening to any Canadian government talking points and attempts by the Heritage Minister to crack down on free speech, nor will you have to worry about that kind of censorship that we're seeing on YouTube. It's censorship resistant, replacing Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Tumblr, Reddit, and Patreon all in one with encrypted messaging for privacy, monetization for creators, and at the same time, they've got, super chats in crypto on live streams. You can pledge to people. There's no algorithm telling you what you can or cannot see, so they can't shadow ban. And then you have BitChute, Minds. We're on all of those. Just try to back us up on every single platform, Instagram, Twitter, whatever it might be, even the bad ones, all the bad ones too. We're on everything. So that when they inevitably delete us off YouTube, you know where to go. I don't think it's so wrong to, say, hey, I'm working day in, day out, posting a video every day, and pressing like and sharing helps. And then people get mad. Well, you give people the opportunity to donate if they wish. And it's like, yeah, it's terrible. How dare I give people the option to donate when I'm working day in and day out on this? I mean, if people like the content, they can support it. If they can't support with money, they can support by liking, sharing, just spreading the word. Because at this point, we're all being attacked. It's not myself, just myself. It's Press for Truth. It's We Are Change. It's Sam Tripoli. It's Ford Fisher of News to Share. It's Carrie Wedler. It's all of these different independent medias. I'm going to be on a panel at Anarchapulco in about a week in Acapulco, Mexico, with Ben Swan, Luke Rudowski, Dan Dix, possibly James Corbett, I can't remember, and Benny Wills is going to be hosting it. I mean, definitely use promo code WAM, W-A-M, if you want to come and see me there. There are so many ways that we're being attacked, and we need to do something now. We need to act now. Inevitably, the market will decide to replace the state. I mean, inevitably, the market will replace the old guard systems with better systems. Tyranny comes under the guise of convenience. And if we utilize convenience to spread freedom, imagine what we can accomplish. Remember, the government is much worse and much more inefficient than the free market when it comes to developing new ideas and marvels and things. So it's up to us to battle this out, battle to the end. I'm optimistic long term. Short term, it's not looking too good. So we need you guys to help now more than ever. Anyway, reject this slave racket they call a Canadian government. Government is organized crime. Taxation is theft. Don't be a slave. Decentralize everything. Free yourself, free your mind, free your money, free your information. Until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change. Like what you see here at WAM, don't forget to check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon. We cannot do it without you guys. Every donation is extremely, extremely appreciated as we're getting incredibly shadow banned. We've lost 80% of our audience since January of 2019 and counting. They are ripping us apart here on YouTube, and the only thing we could do in the meantime as we prepare for the next big step is to ask for help from the viewers that support our free information that we try to post on a daily basis. You can also find us on Subscribestar, where just $1 a month, that's all it takes, $1 a month is all it takes to truly make a huge difference. If everyone gave $1 a month, it would change everything for independent media, and we could win this information war, and we can defeat the mainstream medias eventually. And of course, on Subscribestar, we post subscriber-only content that you'll only see on Subscribestar. So make sure to pledge there, become a patron. That makes a huge difference, guys. And also, don't forget to check out our Bitcoin address below in the comments and description, as well as on the screen for you to scan if you please. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on the alternatives. We will likely be deleted by YouTube in the next 2 years. It's already happening on a vast scale. So make sure to find us on flote.app. That's flote.app. At Josh Sigurdson, as well as at WAM, W-A-M. Float.app is replacing every social media, and I mean, it's just incredible the opportunities it provides for not just creators, but for the average person who wants to get away from these nannies telling them what they can or cannot see. They plan to replace Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, Tumblr, Reddit, and Patreon. You could subscribe to us on Float and pledge with cryptocurrency. cryptocurrency. It's really innovative. We are also on BitChute at World Alternative Media, as well as so many others, Minds, PocketNet. You can find us at World Alternative Media on Instagram. There's many options. And finally, don't forget to join us at Anarchapulco 2020, the famous event, the best liberty event known to mankind other than perhaps Anarcho Vegas 2020. There are two major events coming up that we are extremely excited about, and you can use promo code WHAM, that's W-A-M, and save 10% on your tickets to these legendary conferences. There's so many amazing people speaking there. You won't want to miss it. So make sure to support in any way you can, even if it's just sharing our videos, pressing like, pressing to be notified. Anything helps, folks. You are the change you wish to see. Thanks for watching, everyone. And until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.
I'm sure you have already changed people's minds in your young age because you're involved, and I like that.